On September 17, there is a lunar eclipse in Pisces, and eclipses signal change. Whether you're Pisces or not, your chart could be affected by this eclipse. And so what does that mean for you? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the lunar eclipse. It's on September 17. It's at 25 degrees of Pisces. We're going to do a short overview and then we're going to go sign by sign. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for sending such lovely comments. When I was sick, you guys were so sweet to send all of that love and healing energy. I was really touched, and thank you so, so much. So in a lunar eclipse, the Earth is sitting between the moon and the sun. The sun represents all of your talents and potential and abilities, and the moon is what you feel that you need or want to do. And so the Earth, which is all of the mundane things, you know, the jobs and the other people and circumstances and all of that, that's what's sitting in the way. Now, I give a 5-degree orb on eclipses, which means that if you're born between the 13th and the 23rd of any month, you are getting hit by this eclipse. But you may also be getting hit by this eclipse on any of your other planets. Personal planets like the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, even Jupiter are going to be stronger hits than the slower moving planets such as Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Now let's take a look at the chart, and this chart is a 0 Aries chart. For those of you who have asked, I use Placidus for individuals charts, and for reading general predictions, I do a 0 Aries chart. This particular eclipse is conjunct Neptune, and Neptune is about your connection to the universe. And that is, are you co-creating with the universe? Are you on your spiritual path? Do you know your purpose here on this planet? Now, the eclipse point and Neptune are sitting in between Pluto on one side and Uranus on the other. Pluto is about death and transformation, and so it's not necessarily a literal death. It is more about killing off the parts of you that are no longer working or no longer serve you. And so that's letting go of bad habits, letting go of issues or limiting beliefs, and making these subtle changes so that you can then transform into this more powerful being that can go do your life path. On the other side is Uranus, and Uranus is the sudden unexpected change, kind of like throwing a hand grenade into your life, and then because of the chaos that ensues, that you see new opportunities and you do new things. So you basically have a choice with this eclipse where you can find your power through introspection and letting go of the things that have been holding you back, or you can do a sudden radical change, and that will bring new opportunities as you go through the chaos of rebuilding your life or going in a whole new direction. Now, both of these are acceptable paths. It's just one is a little messier than the other, but it's quicker. And so, again, they're both acceptable paths. So if you choose the Pluto route, this might be that you look at different aspects of your life and you say to yourself, if I'm being completely honest with myself, is this the best thing for me to do? And at the time you might be looking at your sugary, coffee drink that cost you $8, and you may say, all right, you know what? This is probably not the best thing for me to do, so I'm going to cut back or cut it out entirely. Versus the Uranus path, which might be that you say, I'm giving up coffee entirely. I'm never going to have another cup of coffee. I'm never going into a coffee shop again. I'm going to be caffeine-free, sugar-free, and that's it. Now, the Pluto route in a love relationship might be that you say, if I'm being totally honest with myself, I'm not really paying attention when my partner is speaking. And so you say, all right, I'm going to start listening to what they say and see if I can empathize and we can come to some sort of agreement. The Uranus method of this would be that you say to your partner, we're not listening to each other, I think we need a break. If this has something to do with your career, the Pluto method of this is that you might say to yourself, if I'm being totally honest, there are some good parts of my job and some bad parts of my job, so I'm going to lean into the good parts, have better relationships with my coworkers and my boss so that I can get a route to getting better and better tasks or projects and things to do, and slowly moving up in this career, or at least gaining a set of skills that then you can find another job. Of course, the Uranus / hand grenade method would be you quit your job and you go find something else. Now, with eclipses, the universe can help. And that means if you are resistant to change, or if you really, really need a change, the universe may step in and create that change for you. And that could be something from, in this case, the Pluto side, where the boss sits you down and says, you really need to make some shifts here, or your partner says, I'm really feeling unhappy in this situation, and that gives you some time to work on it. Or you get the notice that you're laid off, or you get the notice from your partner that they're going to live in a different zip code. So the more you can be proactive before an eclipse, making changes, being introspective, looking at what this eclipse could mean for you really helps. So a week or so before the eclipse, really be actively looking at what you would think that you could change in your life. And we're going to talk, when we go sign by sign, about the specific areas that may be important for you to change. Then around the time of the eclipse, then a decision is made. And if you are making that decision, then you'll start to implement that. But if the decision is coming from the universe in some way to help you, although it can still feel like a hand grenade, it comes around that time of the eclipse. And then the wonderful part of eclipses is, even though they are really difficult at the time, when you go forward and look back, in a few months, you will say to yourself, I'm so glad this happened, because you were stuck, you were thinking you wanted the universe to help, and then the universe did step in, either to inspire you to do something different or to create a change externally in your life. Now, we're going to go through sign by sign, but if you'd like to specifically know where this eclipse is hitting you, there's a link in the description for you to get a free PDF of your chart. Just add the word eclipse, and then I will point out in my note to you where the eclipses are actually hitting in your chart. And that will be both the lunar and the solar. Also, I do readings if you want to know what's going on now, what you should do about some of the big decisions you have in your life, where you're heading in general. There's a link in the description. And by the way, I have a monthly newsletter, and that has descriptions of all the important aspects that go on for the month. It's a free newsletter, and the link is in the description. Okay, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, if you're getting hit by this eclipse, then you are going to definitely feel that there are some things blocking your progress, especially in your career and in your money. Or you may feel like you're not living up to your potential, but there is something that you can do about this. And that is that there is some unconscious behaviors or some reactions that you have to certain stimuli, external stimuli, that is causing you to not take the opportunity, or to take the easier path, or to avoid the risk or the difficult thing. It's so interesting because, Aries, you have the energy, you can do a lot of things, but sometimes it's so easy to get caught into just the easy stuff, the stuff that, it looks like it makes a difference on a day-to-day basis, but it doesn't make the bigger difference of bringing you in the more money or improving your career. So this is a time where you want to look at how you react to things. That is, do you automatically, start just playing a game when you have a few minutes of a break? Or do you, I'm pointing to my own phone doing that, or is it that you come home from work with the intention of working on your side business, but you get caught up in watching TV? And it's all about your goals. I mean, there's nothing wrong with coming home and watching TV if that's the goal. But if it's more of a reaction to, oh yeah, there's the sofa, and I don't want to do anything else, and then the next morning you say, oh, why didn't I work on my business? That's when it's a problem. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, there is some activity going on in relationship houses for you, but the primary energy is about introspection or you looking at what you're doing on a daily basis and seeing if that is conducive to getting what you want. And so and there may also be a little issue of not getting out of the house too much, maybe not going and doing social occasions. But all of that is okay right now because the energy isn't really lined up, because Mars is not making an aspect with the sun. So therefore, over this 2-week period, work on yourself. And if someone comes to you for a love relationship, that's different, but actively looking right now is not going to yield you the results that you want. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, it's kind of the same story. It's like the two of you are both in your own worlds, and right now there's not a bridge to really work on anything together. So this is a great time to work on yourself and that's, like as an Aries, you're supposed to be working on yourself anyway. And a lot of Aries people I know really default to doing everything for other people. So this may be a time where you just need to pay attention to yourself for a couple of weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Venus, which is in Libra now. And so it actually says, if you will look at how you're doing your presentation, how you are asking for money, what your request is, and maybe changing up the words, maybe being more diplomatic, maybe being more flowery, maybe looking at what they want to hear, and that can help you make more money. And that might be something that you're saying to your supervisor or your customers or just the person who's going to go out and refer you. It's about looking at how that communication is flowing and saying, is there a better way to say this? Now, when it comes to money from business and from investments, you have some really strong energy here for making more money over the next 2 weeks. There is a square between Venus and Pluto, and that means that as you take action, and you are going to feel like you have to take action, and then the action results in some benefits for you. And so that is, if you shy away from the action, if you don't, call the customer back or, do the orders or, look at your investments, then it can be difficult. But if you take action, you have a real chance of winning during this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Venus is making an inconjunct with Uranus. That means that the two of you need to find some sort of common ground to make this raise happen. And it's unfortunate because your boss may just say, hey, we talk about raises in December, and it's not December. So it feels like you're kind of oceans apart right now. And so to come together, you either have to wait for a better aspect, or you're going to have to make some sort of adjustments yourself so that you can be where they are. Okay, Taurus, this eclipse energy is really affecting your involvement in the community and how, friendships happen, how networking can help you in your business. And on the one side is maybe some reticence about being seen or being noticed in the world. And in the other side, maybe feeling a lack of confidence or even a lack of energy of just, I don't want to go out. And so that's where you're being kind of pulled in these different directions. This eclipse may also, though, be about technology and how you're interacting with technology. And then on the one side, with Pluto, we have education, and this could be formal education where you're taking a structured course about, learning some different technology. But the other side is just leaping in and saying, okay, I'm just going to, tinker with this program and figure out how to do it and watch the little tutorials on YouTube, which, are amazing. And so that's the way you can pull out of a fear of technology or just feeling behind. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, there's no aspect going on between Mercury and Venus. However, there's a lot of energy about the friendships and the community. So there's still some possibilities here. It's almost like your mind is elsewhere. And so as you are out and about, you could even get asked out and not realize it, or maybe someone's asking you out, but you're thinking about shopping lists or something like that. So this energy will line up better in the future. So unless you have a friend with you who's nudging you to say, hey, that person's watching you and looking at you, you might miss the opportunity. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a square to Pluto. So there is something the two of you are either in the process of working out, or you're coming together to deal with some obstacle that is external to the relationship. And so if you're coming together, you have a lot of power right now. You can connect very strongly. This can help strengthen the relationship, and you can do battle with whatever this is. And that, like when I say battle, it can just be, like the neighbor is bugging you, or that, you're trying to figure out the school schedule for your kids, but you're coming together to do it. But it's also possible that you are working out something between the two of you, and that then you do want to be cognizant that it could kind of devolve into a battle. And because of that, because, you're a powerful person, you don't want to just run right over your partner. So you want to maybe step back and try to find some common ground where you can start this discussion. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from Mercury, which is in your house of risk-taking. And it's so interesting because it's sometimes that we talk ourselves out of a risk because we think it's not prudent, or it's not practical, or it's going to take extra time to learn this thing. And so instead of even trying something or looking at a new path, we so quickly talk ourselves out of it that we don't even remember that the opportunity was there. And that's what could happen during this time. So you want to be very slow and cognizant about every opportunity that comes up, and ask yourself a couple of times, is it that there is risk involved, and that's why I'm not considering this? Is there some way that I can do it and mitigate the risk? Is there something here for me? Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you have a very strong ability right now to make more money than usual from these sources. So you really want to be very active, and that also will include taking some risks, like sending out invoices. If you hesitate about that, it's time to ask for payment, or maybe even to ask for payment on something that someone has been slow about paying. Or maybe this is time to raise your prices or to expand the number of people that you're seeing. This is also about your investments, and there is some real opportunities here, so you want to pay attention. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's a paycheck, it's a different story here. The Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune, so there is a little bit of a disconnect right now. There does seem to be some sort of delays on getting a raise, even if you guys have talked about it. Maybe it's still in the works and it hasn't quite reached your paycheck yet. But if you were initiating some sort of conversation, or at least thinking about it, you may want to wait just until this energy lines up, which it will very soon. But over this next 2 weeks, this is not the best time to be looking for a raise. Okay, Gemini, there is some possibilities that this eclipse will bring changes within your career. That could mean that the company makes some changes, that the industry is changing, or that there's something materially happening with your job, and that would be if you are getting specifically hit with this eclipse. Now, this may be something that you're very aware of already, that you are already know that you're changing jobs, or you're interviewing now. And that's great. Now, there's two factors here, and one of those is the Pluto, which is in that house of resources from others, which is so interesting when it comes to a job. And that might mean there's a little bit of a golden handcuff situation in your job, where you are waiting for something to be vested, or they're giving you a nice 401k match and other places wouldn't, or at least for a while. So there may be some reasons that you are holding back about changing jobs. But if you're planning to stay in this job, then maybe some of those things are the things that you're missing in this job that you could get in another job. And then the other side of this, the Uranus, which is just that you want to do something different, that you are bored, that you want to explore different possibilities. And so that's the, wanting to lob the hand grenade into your cubicle so that you could make your escape. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is not making an aspect with Venus, which generally means that your attention is just elsewhere. That even if your long-term goals are about finding a love relationship, over this 2-week period, it's not the ideal time. And honestly, finding love during an eclipse time is a little bit, it can be overly a dramatic relationship where the two of you, come together because you're, trapped in an elevator or something. So if it doesn't line up, there's no reason to push it during an eclipse. Of course, this energy will line up better very soon, and then you'll have more ability to connect with someone for a love relationship. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, it's an entirely different story. Mercury is making a square to Jupiter, so the two of you are either coming together with very strong opinions that are different and you're trying to hash it out, or you are coming together as a united front, dealing with an external problem, and the two of you are like two superheroes that just help each other out, and you can be victorious. So, of course, you can see which one would be the better thing to do. So even if you're trying to work out something with each other, look for some external thing that the two of you can work on together, and this will make you closer so that you can understand each other to work out your individual differences more easily. Now, when it comes to your money is directly affected by this lunar eclipse, and it's asking you to really honestly look at your career. And with the changes in technology, do you think this career is going to be around in 5 years? If you think it's not, to actually, instead of operating from a place of fear, to say, okay, what else can I do? People change their careers all the time, but they do it by doing a little bit of planning and starting to see different directions that they can go. Many of the skills that you have would be applicable in other jobs and other industries even. So it's time to look with a very clear eye at your career, because that, of course, is a source of your money. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, even though the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn, they are in the same sign. So there is some extra money that is coming in, but it doesn't seem like it's very much. So there's a little bit more money that you could make over this 2-week period. This may signal a new source of income or a new direction to go, but it's more likely that this is just somebody, does a little upsell, or they purchase a little extra, or they're paying you the final amount or something like that. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, there is no aspect going on between the moon and Mars. However, Mars is in a money house, so you do have opportunities to make more money in your career. Now, of course, if you're getting a new position, if you are changing jobs, you certainly want to negotiate for a higher salary. But it's also possible that you could sit down with your supervisor and say, let's talk about how I can get more money, what would be beneficial for the company, and benefit me also. So there is some real possibilities here. Okay, Cancer, this lunar eclipse is really shifting your limiting beliefs and maybe reordering your beliefs in general. And so, what's your personal philosophy? How do you operate in the world? What are the rules that you think that the universe follows? And so these are the types of things where when I hear somebody say, I'm naturally lucky, that is a rule that they have set up, and then the universe conforms to that. And it's unfortunate, though, that another person might say, I'm naturally unlucky, and then they receive that energy because that's the rule they've set up. Now, it's interesting because your eclipse energy is affected by Pluto, which is the opinions of other people and how what they do and what they experience affects you. And so that might mean that, from your relationship, you might not feel that you can express yourself fully because, it upsets your partner, or you're trying to focus so much on their needs. And so be aware of who you're hanging out with. I know if it's your partner, you can't really help it, but who are your friends? Who are you connecting with? And are they supporting your growth? And then on the other side, it's Uranus, which is in your area of friendships, which says, maybe I need all new friends. Maybe I need to hang out with new people. Maybe I need to go to new places and find some friends and connect on a different level with the people around me. And so maybe it's all been casual and you want it to be deeper and more meaningful. So this is the eclipse energy for you. And by the way, that was the bigger picture. I should also say that this eclipse energy could affect a legal matter that you're in. And so you may have to settle or make a big change in how you're going about this legal matter. And this is also could be about your higher education. And that could be that you need to really lean into this. Like if you've signed up for school, you have to lean in and really do it, or figure out what classes are not going to work for you and drop those so that you don't have a bad mark on your record. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon is making a lovely sextile to Pluto, and Pluto's in your house of relationships again because it's back in Capricorn. And so this is such a great opportunity for you to meet someone new. I know that sounds wild because eclipses bring such intense energy, but this could be somebody that maybe you saw once or twice, and now you could really connect. So maybe that intensity will work for you. This energy will line up again this year. So if you don't want to do this during the eclipse, I understand, but you do have some positive energy now for relationships. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect between Moon and Saturn. However, they are in the same sign. So it feels like you two are working together on the same goal, but you have your different tasks that you're doing. It's not so much that you're working out things in the relationship, but that you're doing your set of tasks and they're doing their set of tasks. And then together, the synergy between the two of you helps you as a couple or the entire family. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the sun, which is doing the opposition to Neptune, but a grand trine with Pluto and Uranus. So the two options that you have here is this pie in the sky, Neptune, everything's going to work out, I don't have to pay attention to anything, or to really take hold of the power of this grand trine and make something big happen. And that might mean, reaching out to someone for a collaboration, or to actually launch something, to really say, that's it, I am going to do this business or financial, whatever it is, because this grand trine is your ticket to doing something that is noticeable in your life and big. So you have such a big opportunity now. And now when it comes to money from business or from investments, obviously, things are looking very good. The sun is making a trine to Uranus. You have opportunities to make more money over this next 2 weeks. That's it. Look at all the different ways you make money, lean in, you have opportunities. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that would be like a paycheck, the sun's making a semi-sextile to Venus, so not quite as strong an aspect, and that might be because there are some limitations or rules to what your company can give you. You may look and see if there's some perks they could give you also, but this is a good time to at least start that conversation about the raise. It is also possible that, they're going to just say, hey, it's so close to the end of the year, let's just have the conversation then. That's okay, because this energy will line up better in the future. Okay, Leo, this lunar eclipse is in your area of power, but also resources from others, and it's directly tied to your career and work, or whatever it is that you do on a daily basis. And so there is a great deal of focus on figuring out if you're giving your power away. If you are, which means that you are allowing other people to make important decisions for you, or you are feeling like you cannot choose something because that would upset your boss or your partner or somebody like that. So if you're feeling trapped because someone else gets to say over your life, that is that you have let them have your power and it's time to take it back. Now, where you have the opportunities for change, the Pluto is in that area of daily life and work, and so that's just making minute changes to your schedule, how you do your affirmations or your meditations, or things like that that can strengthen you and you can systematically pull your power back in. Or the Uranus, which is more of the big, like fireworks of, I am going to do something different with my life. And that could be an overarching change. Like, it's not just that you say, I'm going to quit my job, but I'm going to quit my job and move to France. Or I'm going to, shift from being, well, I can't think of another thing that's bigger than moving to France. I'm sure there's something. Iceland, maybe. But basically, the bottom line is, of course, you have the choice between the Pluto making those subtle internal changes and how you react to things, or making the big sweeping changes with Uranus. But ultimately, what the purpose is for you to bring back the power, because once the power is back in your corner, then you have access to all the resources that you need. And that is either by talking to people about partnerships, or just asking for resources, or, like opening your arms up and receiving the abundance of resources that are there available for you. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, you have some very positive energy here. That is, the sun is making a square to Jupiter. So it is easier now for you to find someone for a love relationship than it is usually. So this is a time where you do want to be social, or allow your friend to fix you up with their friend, or call up the matchmaker that you hired that you haven't really utilized their services yet. Doing things like that could help propel you into a relationship during this time. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, you're doing some really good energy, and that is the sun is making a trine to Uranus. That means that even in all of this stuff about you making changes and all that, you could get real support from your partner. The two of you seem to be more in sync, more in harmony, and so this means you could agree more on things, or you could get more support from your partner. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury, which is in a money house, which means that it's time to really focus on the actual cash. And that is to look at your accounts, to count your money, look at how much you're spending, look at what you're receiving. Even if the dividends and other resources that you're getting are small, they still count. And to start to see which of those avenues could be grown most easily. This also means that there are new sources of revenue that are available to you. So you need to ask yourself what they are, so that the things that are hidden can become clear. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, even though Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune, they're both in money houses. So there are some real possibilities. It's probable, though, that the actual profits will come outside this 2-week period. So that might mean you get more sales, or you see stocks rising, but you don't actually get the money during this 2 weeks. Well, that's okay. You can still get the sale. You can still get the opportunities. So this is a good time to work on that. Now, when it comes to money from your career, so that would be like a paycheck, that Mercury is making an opposition with Saturn. And so that is that one of you has to be Mercury and one of you has to be Saturn. So if your boss is Saturn, Saturn being the strict father would say, no, you're not doing enough, you can't have anything more. So, and then you'd be Mercury at that point, and you'd only have to say, okay. But if you switch the roles and you say, this is what I have accomplished, this is what I contribute, if you are then the father, the authority, then your boss has to be Mercury, and then all they can say is, yes, I agree. So it's all about the roles that you take for whether you could get a raise during this 2-week period. Okay, Virgo, this lunar eclipse is really shifting relationships in your life, and this could affect all kinds of relationships. And so they're kind of under your scrutiny right now of whether relationships are working in your life, if you want more relationships, and this could be friendships, business partnerships, collaborations, as well as a love relationship. And then, of course, the Pluto side of this is about taking those small risks, to say, hey, let's have coffee together. And then there is a little bit of a risk in that. And because, what if it doesn't work out? What if, it moves a relationship forward too quickly and things like that? Or this is to go and make the radical change of the Uranus and put yourself out there big time in the world. And that is to really be seen and go to lots of different meetings and maybe go to classes and, do some travel and really get involved with lots of people. And so by being seen, then you have more opportunities to meet people who you really resonate with. So now, of course, this could mean that you are thinking about a very particular relationship in your life and whether you should move forward with this or not. And those two options that you have, one would be to work it out slowly and to painstakingly go through the different things that are holding the two of you back from a better relationship. Or are you saying something like, okay, we need to dramatically change this relationship, so perhaps we need counseling, perhaps we need to get a third party in to mediate or to help us negotiate this partnership. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is making an opposition with Saturn. In an opposition, one person takes one planet and the other person takes the other planet. And so they're on a seesaw. Now, they can come together in the middle and work something out, and then we don't get those huge shifts back and forth. So in this particular case, one person is Mercury, which is fun-loving and wants to talk and communicate and share information, and the other person's Saturn, which is all business. And so what can happen is that you meet somebody new, but they're too busy at work to see you, or vice versa, that you have been, you meet somebody, but you don't have time to put them in your schedule. Or that a person comes in and they're so open and ready for a relationship while you are, battle worn and just not ready to open up and commit. Or again, vice versa. So the thing to do is to try to find that middle ground where you both are a little bit open and a little bit cautious. And in case I wasn't clear, this is a really good time to meet somebody new for a relationship because the areas in your chart are just lit up. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, even though Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune, as I said before, your relationship houses are lit up. So this means that you have tons of opportunities to work things out with your partner, to find ways to share, sweet moments together, to, really talk with each other. So those possibilities are really there. Now, of course, this is during an eclipse, and if they are being hit by the eclipse pretty directly, they could need a hug. If you're getting hit by the eclipse, you might need a partner who's truly understanding, and so you have to be open with the communication in order for the other person to understand what you need. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Venus, which is in your house of money. So this is very good energy for making more money, finding additional revenue sources, and just having people support you in your search for more revenue. Now, all of that said, this is also a time, though, where you need to focus on what it is you really want. Making money a priority will help more money to come in. But if you're focused on lack and what you don't have, then that unfortunately expands. So this is a time to look at how much abundance you have, as well as surrounding yourself with people who are doing well so that you can get part of that energy, not to feel like, oh, everybody else is doing better than me and I feel jealous, but instead to say, oh, this is how they did this. This is how they connect, and learning more quickly. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Mars, both Venus and Mars are in money houses, so there is definite money energy happening. What is the possibility is that you could make more sales, but the money comes in after this 2-week period, or that you're making more in investments, but you don't get paid for that whatever investment is for a while. So the money looks like it's coming in. It just looks like it's coming outside the 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, Venus is making an inconjunct with the moon, which means that you have an aspect, but right now the two of you and your boss are worlds apart, which could mean that you know that you deserve a much bigger raise than your boss is either wanting to or capable of giving you. And so you're trying to make some adjustments on either side to get to something that feels satisfactory. Unfortunately, with an inconjunct, there's a lot of adjustments that need to be made. And you can ask the other person to make the adjustments, or you can make the adjustments. And sometimes a mix of both is good. So that might be that you ask for a little bit more money, but maybe some perks, or that your boss says, we can give you some of the money now, but maybe some next year, and so forth. Okay, Libra, this lunar eclipse is in your area of daily habits, routines, and how you support your physical body. And that is through the habits that you have. Are these things good for you or not good for you? And when we look at that Uranus, Pluto, which direction you can go, we have the Pluto sitting there at the base of your chart, which is saying, you know, you may want to change your diet, but you can't get your family to change their diet. Or you have to do something maybe subtle at home so that, you know, like get rid of your sofa and put a treadmill there instead. And so instead of watching TV, you're jogging and watching TV or something like that. So it is about looking at the smaller things that you can do. And most of these, and you know, I was talking about external things there, but most of the time with Pluto, it's an internal shift where you say, oh, I'm empowered to do this. I do have the ability to do this. And so with this at the base of your chart, it may say to you, like, that you don't have to be the genetic code of your parents. I mean, you have that genetic code, but you don't have to actually do what they did. You know, yes, I know genes play a factor, but most of the time it's the nurture, the habits that we developed, you know, that our parents came home and they didn't exercise, and so now that's ingrained in us. So that's the kind of thing where you say, I don't have to do what my family does, so I can make a different choice. Now, the other side of this, of course, is the Uranus, which is in that area of resources, which says that there are, like, you could just go for these big radical changes of, okay, I'm going to become, you know, vegan or keto or something like that, and hang out with those people and really dive into all those resources. Now, of course, with this moon placement, this lunar eclipse placement, it doesn't have to be about health or diet. It may be about your job. And then we see this may be some sort of question between whether you're going to work at home, but then you're isolated and not on the fast track for getting promotion because nobody can see you at home, versus getting into the office and really doing the office politics thing. And that could be the radical change, because for some that would mean moving, which is a big disruption at home. So there's several things about this eclipse that could change in your life, but mostly this is about what you do on a daily basis. Is it helping you? Is it kind of getting in your way? And then you have these different resources or different options that you can take to break out of the bad habits. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making an inconjunct with Uranus, which means that you could meet someone but not recognize that they could be a love relationship, because maybe they are outside of the age range you were thinking of, or the situation, you're not thinking about love, or they're just not what you would consider your type. So there's some sort of adjustments. If you want to meet someone for a love relationship, you are doing an aspect that's always good, but it is a challenging aspect in that the person in front of you who may be looking for love may not be what you were hoping for or expecting. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is not making an aspect with Mars, which generally means that the two of you are just really busy, maybe not interacting so much, maybe don't have the time to talk together or work on a project together, that you're just doing your own thing. And that's okay, because in a relationship, you know, relationships can be very long, and that means there's going to be a lot of times where you're not, you know, just really working on the relationship. So this is one of those 2-week periods where you basically are just doing your own thing. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from both Pluto at the base of your chart as well as Mars at the top of your chart. And so this is kind of a dynamic of whether to stay home or stay in your office and work on the business with closed doors and the drapes are closed and, like you're cut off from the world, which will give you a great deal of focus and time to work undistracted. Or are you out in the world meeting new people and connecting? And so these are the two directions you can go, and you can kind of flip a coin. But you can choose one of these directions to go make more money. One of it is to sit in your darkened room and do the deep work necessary. And that might be financial analysis of your products, or writing a new website, or doing, working on a new product, or going out into the world and telling everybody what you do and being seen as much as possible. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making a square to Pluto, so there is some real money that could be made during this time. That is, go after the opportunities, look for the big fish. You could land a whale during this period, so you really don't want to miss this. In fact, because it's a square, some of it will come to you, knocking on your door. So, whatever you're doing, if you're feeling distracted, try to focus on the opportunities that come to you, because they could be big. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, there's even better news. The sun is making a trine to Pluto, and that means this is one of your best opportunities to secure a raise or secure more perks and benefits in general from your job. So this is a time where you want to set the meeting with the boss, talk to them about this, that there is some really good energy for you now. Okay, Scorpio, this lunar eclipse is falling in your area of children, but also risk-taking. So let's start with the kids first. And that is that there may be something going on with your kids that is a big change in their life. I mean, maybe they've gone off to school, or maybe they're entering a new grade, and so it's a level of school, or they're bringing someone home, and you don't know if you like their new friends and things like that. And so you have some different options here. The Pluto sitting at the base of your chart is talking about how you communicate with them, noticing the words that you say, maybe shifting things in a very subtle manner. Maybe you naturally state things in this sort of negative way, like, please don't do this, and versus finding a way to state it in the positive. Or maybe this is just finding some shared vocabulary, some words that they're using all the time that you can then start to see, well, what does that really mean when they're saying it? What's their definition of that? And then there's also the other side, which is the Uranus, which is to get involved. And that is to get involved in their school and to meet the parents of these kids and to see all of those things that they're doing from that perspective. Now, this is also, though, about risk-taking and whether you are so interested in security right now that you're missing opportunities. And so the Pluto energy here could mean that there are some paperwork or contracts or applications to do that you need to look over and do very carefully, questioning different provisos and things like that. Or you can go for the Uranus, which is just a quick handshake deal, and now you have a new business partner, or you just bought a boat or something. So this is where this lunar eclipse is saying there are opportunities here. Yes, there are some risks to it, and here's the two options you have for assessing these risks and taking advantage of them. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Pluto is back in Capricorn, making that sextile to Neptune. So you have 3 months of very harmonious energy. You're just going to hear me say it over and over. This is a really good time to go seek out a love relationship. So consider that it's time to get out there in the world and meet new people, and that's going to help you find love. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a square to Pluto. Now, that means that the two of you are either dealing with something between you and you are trying to work it out, and there is a dynamic going on that one person feels that they have to win, or you're trying to, beat the other person, and become victorious. Or the two of you come together and you fight something external. And in fighting this external threat, whatever it is, that you become closer and more loving with each other. And the external threat could be something, minor. It doesn't, it could be the HOA doesn't like your doormat color or something like that. But the two of you are coming together. That's the important part, to deal with something that is external to the relationship. So that's what you want to be looking towards, rather than fighting with each other or taking it out on each other, because you have such an opportunity now to make this a better, closer relationship. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Jupiter, which is in a money house, and it is saying that there is so much information out there and so many different types of ways to make money. You can go on any AI site and put in, show me 100 different ways to make money on the side, and it will do it like in seconds. And this is about taking each one of these and starting to explore them. And, instead of just running your finger down the list and going, no, but say, oh, wait a minute, is there any way I could do this? Is there a different way I can do this? And when you go through the 100, if you still haven't found one, then go through the next 100 and the next 100, because there are that many. Now, when it comes to money from business and from investments, this looks like a profitable 2 weeks, because Jupiter is making a square to Mercury. So there are many opportunities for you to make more money and, find new revenue sources and make bigger sales. This could be a really strong time for you. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that's like a paycheck, this is actually even stronger than money from business, because Mercury's in a money house, Jupiter's in a money house, and they are directly communicating with each other, and they're doing a square. So this is, again, super strong time for you to sit down with your supervisor and say, how do I get more money? How do I get more perks? And you might get a combination of those. Of course, if you are negotiating for a new job, you certainly want to ask for more money. This is a very positive time. Okay, Sagittarius, this lunar eclipse is at the base of your chart, and so this affects your dwelling. And so this may be that you are looking about moving or doing some renovations or making some changes at home. And then you have those two options, Pluto in that house of money of yours, which is you looking at maybe the different renovations and going through this is how much square footage of floor I need, and this is the different prices, and carefully weighing all your options of materials and sources and all of that. Or the Uranus that is in your area of work and routines, and that's you just get a crowbar and you start ripping up the floor. So this whole lunar eclipse is not about the dwelling, but about your family and how you interact with your family. And then this would be the option of you're, saying, okay, I can't really come and help you. I can't do this, but here's some money. That would be one side, one option of it. Or you saying, okay, that's it. You need help. I'll take some time off and I will come and help you. And so those are the options that you are showing: big changes at home or some changes with your family, and some different options about how you are handling that. There is one other possibility here, and if there are difficulties within the family, there are some energy here of either shifting from a point of self-esteem, which is when you are feeling okay with yourself, then it's less important what other people do. And so the shift might be that you say, you know what, my family doesn't necessarily accept what I'm doing, but I'm okay with that, so I'm going to be fine. Or the other side of that, the Uranus side of that, would be, we're just going to have an entirely different relationship, and I'll see you at the holidays, but not before then. And so that is the radical shift of, if you guys aren't going to accept me, then I'm not going to hang out with you. So that is the other possibility here for this eclipse. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mars is not making an aspect with Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is going through a relationship house for you, so there are always going to be possibilities for you for at least the next 6 months, but they're not very strong this time, which is not surprising since you have so much else going on. So there's some slight energy here for finding someone for a very quick, very physical relationship. So, but if that's not what you're looking for, then you want to look outside this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the energy is completely different. There is a square between Mercury and Jupiter, and that means that the two of you are either coming together to work something out, and that may be loudly working something out, or the two of you are coming together as a united front against something external. And that could be a project that you want to do, something you want to take on together, or something that you feel you need to defend the house or family against. And again, I don't want that to sound like super dire. That could just mean that, the neighbor's really noisy and you have to go over as a couple and ask them to turn down the radio. But in doing so, what happens is you become closer as a couple and stronger as a united front. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Saturn, which is doing an exact opposition to Mercury. So there is kind of a split here happening of whether you stay in your office and just work on your business, or if you go out into the world, and that might mean doing social media or, just meeting people. And it's impossible to do both at once. You have to either flip-flop back and forth, or you have to pick a side. And so that is to look at how much time you are spending out there connecting with new people versus how much time you are sitting, behind your computer screen, working away, but isolated from making new contacts. So that's where you're looking to find some sort of balance. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, even though the moon's not making an aspect with Saturn, they're both in the same sign. So we do feel like you're going to make a little bit more than you usually do. Not too much, because the energy seems to be dissipating. So this might be that, a customer comes back and purchases one more thing, or some money that you thought was not going to come in comes in, it dribbles in though. And so you are making a little bit more than usual. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn. So this is not an ideal time to go looking for a raise. Now, that said, because you are doing some energy around a new job, if you're in negotiations for a new job, you certainly should ask for more money, but you may not get it right out of the gate. They may say, well, let's see how you do in a few months. So that could be the possibilities that we're seeing here with that. So, but right now, if you were thinking about asking for a raise, you may want to wait, or it's quite possible they'll say, hey, we're going to talk about that at the end of the year. You're asking too soon. Okay, Capricorn, this lunar eclipse for you is in your area of paperwork and applications and, like contracts and agreements. It's also about your siblings, and it's also about your thinking process. So that's a lot of stuff to cover. So let's start with the contracts. And that could mean that you are reviewing a contract or doing some sort of important application. And you have the two options, the Pluto, which is in your own sign of Capricorn now, which is going to carefully, look at every single question and make sure that you have the right answer and what's the truth about this, and maybe checking back and forth and seeing so you can give them as much of a perfect application as possible. And then the Uranus, which says, how fast can I do this? And so looking at those may be some options for you on how to get this done. Now, when it comes to your siblings, there is some communication issues, perhaps, and I would say siblings, cousins, they could be involved. If there was already communication issues, then you could really feel them now. And this would be more about your your siblings, and so you're going to have fun no matter what, like let's just keep it light, versus hey, they don't see me clearly, I'm not being respected, and so I have to straighten them out. So you have those two directions you can go with that. Now, of course, the biggest of those three, and the most likely that you're going to experience during this lunar eclipse, is about your thinking process and how that needs to change. And so, because that's where we can get limiting beliefs and we can hold ourselves back. And the Pluto side of this is about seeing yourself and the accomplishments you've done and what you've created in your life and saying, I do have a reason to be confident. I do have a reason to be positive. And what you would do is go systematically through your past and write down every single one of your accomplishments, all of your skills, all of the awards, every single thing, from preschool to now. And really say to yourself, all right, I have done worthy things in this world. And they don't have to be, like, we're not talking about the Nobel Prize. Like if you rescued your neighbor's paper from getting water. I don't know. What's a paper? It's like, that's how old I am. They used to print out part of the internet and then throw it on your porch. That was a newspaper. So, but this idea of systematically going through and reordering how you see your life in this positive, or the Uranus, which is just saying, the heck with this. I'm just going to make a change, and I'm going to make the most radical change possible. And that is that you go and do some sort of activity that helps you instill confidence. And so that would, be like skydiving, walking on those hot coals with Tony Robbins, or, doing something else that you feel is going to empower you. And by the way, I should mention right here, one of those things that you can do is called rejection therapy. And there's a cool video on that. And that is just going to strangers and asking for things and letting them say no and getting over your fear of rejection. And so I'll put a link to that video in the description. It's pretty cool. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn. And that makes sense. Like, you're busy. You have things to do and work out. And so right now, it's a little bit difficult to create love relationship because you're working on yourself so much. And so it is possible that someone could ask you out, but you wouldn't notice because you're distracted by important things, I should point out. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon is not making an aspect with Saturn, but they're in the same sign. And so therefore, the two of you are connecting on a more superficial level, and that's okay. Like relationships, long-term relationships are long. So, you are, like waving to each other in the driveway, or, you're sitting together for the meals. You're not dealing with the deep stuff, but that's okay because you are helping each other with the day-to-day stuff. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Uranus, which is in that area of taking risks, as well as that Saturn, which is in the area of communication. And so this is looking at how you approach risk and what you say to yourself about it. Do you look at something that does feel like it's outside of your comfort zone and so quickly talk yourself out of it that you didn't even realize that there was an opportunity? And we don't always have, when it comes to risk, a lot of times people just jump to the idea of putting a lot of money in some sort of altcoin or something. But risk can be something like just speaking up, asking for a raise, or asking for a job, or even just sending out a resume. Sometimes it's those small risks that can really be the thing that is stopping us from doing the things that we want, but we don't identify them as risks, and so therefore we don't ask ourselves, is it worth it? So the bottom line this time is, if you can identify one of these things, look for the smallest little thing that you keep avoiding doing, and do that thing, and your world could open up. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the energy is so good right now. The sun's making a trine to Uranus. You have an opportunity to make more money over this 2-week period. And some of these opportunities could be big. That with a trine energy, you have to just do a little bit to move yourself in that direction, and then things open up. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, Uranus is making a trine to Pluto. So you have basically a grand trine when it comes to money here. And that means this is a good time to go ask for a raise and to negotiate more perks, or if you're looking for a job, to ask for more money and ask for other things, because you are doing very positive energy, especially over this next 2 weeks. Okay, Aquarius, this lunar eclipse is in your house of money, and that means that not only is money the focus, but there could be disruptions in a revenue source. Now, it also could be that there's a new revenue source, and oftentimes with an eclipse, when we look back on it, we're very happy that it happened. So a disruption in a revenue source could mean new opportunities that are opening up that are much more lucrative for you. This is also your area of possessions as well as acquiring possessions. So this may be about your bills or shopping. This could be about interest rates and things like that. Now you have the two options of taking the exit through Pluto, and Pluto is sitting there basically it's just gone back into Capricorn, so it's no longer in Aquarius, and so it's lighting up this area of unconscious behaviors. And so this is where we live in a world where it's so easy to just click that buy now button and, in a few hours, the item arrives and we're not thinking about how much it cost and, saving for it. And so making some subtle changes, and that would be, looking at any sort of automatic payments and seeing what you could eliminate, or looking at blocking certain websites so that you don't see them, so you don't hit the buy now, or looking at unconscious behaviors that are connected to your worth, and how what you own is connected to self-worth and how to disconnect those and so forth. Now, the other side of that is the very radical Uranus at the base of your chart that just says, okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to go minimalist, which means I don't need to have this and I don't need so much revenue. Or it's a complete and total focus of saying, I'm really going to go for the big bucks. And that means that I'm going to put in more work. I'm going to, study about finances and, doing this bigger push towards the direction that you want. Now, this is also in your area of self-worth, and so I just wanted to point that part out. And there are two options here, of course. And one of those with that Pluto would be to do through journaling or reflection and finding why you are holding yourself back and cutting the cords from the past behaviors or the past events that have really caused you to feel like you're not worthy, and letting those things go. Or the other side with the Uranus at the base of your chart is you stop hanging out with family members who are bringing your self-worth down until you feel stronger. And that is just say, you know what, I just need a little break. I can't talk to you about this right now. And you take a few months of just some space so that you can find yourself again. And when you're feeling stronger, then you can see if a relationship is possible. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is not making an aspect with Uranus. However, it is making an opposition to Saturn. And so there is a possibility of meeting someone for a love relationship. The rub is that they may not be what you were thinking. So they may not be exactly your type, or in fact, they may be like someone outside of the age range you were thinking of, or they are from a different background, or they are on the different side of the political aisle, or something like that, where you are uncertain about whether you have enough in common. And the important thing about an opposition is you try to meet in the middle. And so you do, if you want that love relationship to work, you need to find some common ground. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, it's an entirely different story. The sun's making a lovely trine to Uranus, so the two of you are in more harmony than usual. You'll have better conversations. You guys can be a good united front. If you need to deal with anything, you're on the same page, so you have some good energy for this 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Neptune, which is in the money house, as well as that Jupiter, which is in your house of creativity. And I want to focus on that part this time, and that is to look at your financial situation and see how you can get creative. And some of that would be, how could you make more money? What are some of the creative passive income sources that are out there? Or maybe this is getting creative with how you are just dealing with household stuff so that you don't need to buy new stuff. Or this could be getting creative and creating a product that you can sell. So there is all of these creative ideas that you have, And this is a time where they are connected to your money. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune, but this is where most of the energy is in this chart. And so it looks like you are making more money, but I think the actual profits come outside this 2-week period. That means that you could get more sales, but you get paid, like in 30 days, or you are making more on your investments, but because of the process, it takes a while for you to get the cash. So you do look like you're making more money than usual. You just don't quite have your hands on it. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Jupiter's not making an aspect with Neptune, but again, you have such strong money houses this time. It may be worth the risk to just bring it up and get that process in motion, because there will be some opportunities that are coming up for you. But right now it does look like you can start the process, and you're probably going to hear something like, well, we'll talk about this at the end of the year. But as you plant those seeds, then something can grow. Okay, Pisces, this is your eclipse, and so that does mean that it could hit in a number of different areas of your life, but the majority of it all comes back down to your own confidence and belief in yourself. And that core belief that you can handle things, that you do have the abilities to deal with the stuff that happens, that core belief is what this eclipse is trying to show you. Now, to build your confidence, to really understand who you are and to see yourself more clearly as the powerful being that you are, you have these two options. You have Pluto, which is to look at the, like the friendships and the connections that you have and see if they are supporting you, if they are helpful. Finding the most helpful of those and sitting down with them and saying, show me what you're seeing in me. Show me my talents, show me the good things here so that I can start to believe in those, and sit down with those good people and say, help me out step by step. Or this is the Uranus side, which is the radical change part, which is to just change your thinking, to just say, I'm not going to entertain negative thoughts anymore. I am going to speak positively. When there is an opportunity to speak out, I will do it. It is just to say, that's it. I'm going to be different from now going forward. Now, this is also about speaking up and becoming a leader. And so then this eclipse could bring an opportunity for you to take a leadership role. And so the Pluto side of this is where you might go to the meeting and you speak up a little bit more than you did before. And then you go home and you analyze, okay, how could I have done that a little better? And then you go to the next meeting and you do it a little bit better, and so forth. Or the Uranus part of that is you just sign up for Toastmasters, or you start your own meetup group, or you just jump in full on and you start making your YouTube videos. You basically say, I'm going to speak up, my voice is going to be heard. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, you have some very nice energy. The moon's making a conjunction with Neptune. That is two people coming together for a love relationship. Your relationship chart, it's all lit up. So this is one of the best times that you've had all year to meet somebody new for a love relationship. So get out there, be social, connect, just, visualize how you could meet someone. That's the biggest thing I notice with clients is they can picture what the wedding's like or what their marriage is going to be like. They forget to picture how they met them. So picture that so that the universe has a clue of how to send the person to you. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect between Mercury and Neptune. However, there's so much energy in relationship houses. So basically the two of you are just doing your relationship together. You're doing your tasks and they're doing their tasks and everything's working out. You're not necessarily coming together to work out some big thing. You're just, living together. And that's fine. In a long-term relationship, that's most of the time. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mars in your area of creativity and risk-taking. And so this is saying, if you are not taking the risks, and risks don't necessarily need to be financial. It doesn't mean that you have to bet all your money on some altcoin or something like that. No, this is more about taking those risks of speaking up and being a leader and, you know, actually putting something out into the world. So now there's that. And if those risks seem just insurmountable, then get creative about it. So that's when people say, you know, like, I'd love to do YouTube, but I can't be on camera. Well, there's a ton of channels where there is no person on camera, or we only see the back of their head, or we only see their hands. So there are so many different options. We just sometimes have to get creative about them. And the same with, you know, you feel like, oh, well, I'd like to do investing, but, you know, I don't know where to start. And so get a little creative with it. Maybe find a friend and the two of you can chip in $50 each and you buy a share of stock together, you know, or you say to yourself, okay, how can I find something where it's a fractional share? That's a creative solution to not, you know, buying a whole share of Tesla, but just buying a fraction of it. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is not making an aspect with Mars. These two will line up in the future, but right now it looks like you're making about the same as usual. And that makes sense. You're planting a lot of seeds. You are coming into a position of feeling more confident and being a leader. And so the ripple effect is going to be positive in your finances, but you have to wait until that ripple effect happens. Now, when it comes to money from your career, so that would be like a paycheck, there is no aspect going on between Mars and Saturn at the moment. But it's interesting because Mars is moving forward, Saturn's moving backwards. And so these two are heading for a very wonderful, good aspect. So this may be the time to just kind of feel out your boss and see what kind of response you get. It's likely they're going to say, hey, just wait. We're going to be talking about this in a couple of months. And so you just want to say, okay, I just want to be ready. You know, like, what are you going to need? You know, what can I do in the meantime to get the maximum raise? Things like that. This energy is going to line up very positively in the future. Right now, it's just a seed planting time. And that's it. If you want to know exactly where this eclipse is falling for you and the solar eclipse that's coming up, there is a link in the description where I will send you a PDF copy of your chart. Just put eclipse in there and then I will send you that information. And if you want a reading, there is also a link there. And I will see you in the next video.